Welcome to Coffee Talk with Liquidshano 1973, an inspirational podcast about the ups and downs of life and everything in between. Here's your host, Shane Lakita.
Okay, guys, hey, welcome back to another episode of Coffee Talk. I just wanted to check in with you guys because, there's a lot of people that hop on the podcast just trying to be able to figure out what's going on or what this whole podcast thing is all about. And multiple episodes, I've talked to you a little bit about the fact that I use this podcast as a journal or a therapy session that I might have that I want to be able to talk about things that are going on in my life. Because, as we all know, and as we're trying to be able to grind and get through things and achieve goals and trying to be able to push forward with whatever it is that we're trying to be able to push forward with, we need an outlet. We need a place we can go to be able to vent a little bit or talk about the struggles or celebrate in the victories or whatever it is. And when you don't have those, you don't have the ability to be able to live in that space or talk about that kind of stuff. It makes things very difficult to be able to get through and do because, you have no space to go to. You have no safe haven to be able to, apply to the journey that you're living. And so you're just kind of spinning your wheels a little bit. So a lot of people will use things like maybe their therapist or psychologist or journaling or anything, but this is like my audio journal. And if something goes on in my life, good, bad, or indifferent, I like to talk about things because it really just gets my thoughts out there. And it really talks about just how to be able to right-size things and line things up and try to strengthen my brain work of what I'm trying to be able to work with life in general, in my journey, with weight loss, with career, with family, with everything that we're trying to be able to do. For me, at the end of the day, I need things like this. And so a lot of you who have been with me for a long time, or maybe even since the beginning, know that I used to do almost like a daily podcast. And then it went down to about a weekly. And then lately it's been about every month or so. And I'm going to try to get back into the weekly podcast because I feel like it's really beneficial to me. The last one I just did, I literally got done with the podcast and I had a lot of good compliments and a lot of conversations with people. People had messaged me, email, they messaged me, text message, and whatever else. I was just talking about the different things that I was saying in the podcast and how they can relate to it. And they felt like there was a connection there. And they feel, a lot of people feel like when I speak about the things that I struggle with or the things that I'm trying to be able to do or move forward with, I'm speaking their language. And I'm speaking a lot like what you might be thinking. Right. So my therapy and my moment that I sit down and I just rap with you guys on this microphone where I'm talking like I'm laying on a black couch and I'm sitting there talking to my psychologist therapist. You're like my therapist. And I don't mean that in a bad way or anything like that. I think it's amazing that I have a place that I can go to that I know that there are many, many people that are listening with their ears open to me talk about my life and where I'm at with everything. And I think that that's amazing. The power of all of this, the power of social media, the power of internet, the power of podcasting, the power of audio, the power of technology, all that stuff can bring so much, like so many people together. It's amazing to me. And not most of us, I would say probably a majority of us don't utilize it the way that we should be utilizing it. Because a lot of people might like the face-to-face or they stay clear of social media or they don't want to be able to record themselves or maybe they don't like the way they sound or anything like that. But, at the end of the day, if you're doing something that's helping you, keep doing it, right? If you're going to see a therapist every week or every month, keep doing it. If you go to a psychologist and you sit down and talk about different stuff in your life and how to be able to overcome different adversities and stuff like that, and it's working for you, keep going. If you break out a journal and you write down your thoughts in a journal where you're writing down the goods, the bads, and the indifference to maybe go back to and lean in on and learn from the way that you're feeling about things or what you've done or your experiences or whatever else, journaling is a huge benefit to a lot of people, right? So that if you're doing that, then keep doing that. This is my therapy. You are my therapy. You are the folks that I go to talk about the stuff that's on my mind, that I even do more than I do my own family, because I don't want to bother my family with the small little things that are bothering me in my brain as much as I want to be able to get onto a microphone and just talk about stuff and be able to just maybe relate to you and maybe you can relate to me. So here's the reason why I hopped on today. This is pretty much going to be 2 back-to-back podcasts in a limited amount of time, and which is amazing. I haven't really had the time to be able to do so. I've been working so hard and just grinding and keep things moving forward in the space of trying to be able to pay the bills and be able to know that I have a kid that's going to be entering college soon and all these different things that I'm trying to be able to get my head wrapped around. But here's what I wanted to talk to you guys about, okay? So today I was at work. And I had this guy come in, older fella, probably about 65, maybe 70. And he comes in to pick up his order. He had ordered some stickers and some family stuff and some photos. And he was at the front counter and just kind of chatting with one of the employees. And I came out to deliver and I said, here you go, here's your stuff. And we just got to chatting. And he seemed like a really interesting guy. And he had a Navy hat on. So I talked to him a little bit about being a veteran and if he was retired, what his branch, what his ranking was, and what his job was, or anything like that in the military. And so we chatted about that a little bit, and then we got to talking about legacy. We talked about while we're on this earth, what kind of impact that we may have. And he's an older guy, so he's got a lot of experience and a lot of things to share with me. And, we just got to talking. And I love having in-depth conversations like this because I feel like I can learn from anybody, whether you're 12 or you're 90, if you just open your ears and listen to people. So we had this conversation. We're sitting there talking. And basically, to summarize what he had said was, and I'll put it all together and then we'll chat about it for a little bit because it's really on my mind and it's making me think a lot. Because a lot of times we get frustrated with things like social media. We get frustrated with things like likes and follows and all these different things online. And then we also get frustrated with regular life things like people that we normally talk to before that maybe we're not talking to as much anymore. Maybe we're fighting or whatever else. So here's what he said. He basically summarized it up in saying this. We spend all of our lives trying to be able to accomplish things. We go for things. We're trying to be able to get a large sum of money, or we're trying to be successful with our careers, or we're trying to impress our bosses or impress different people around us. Or we're always trying to live in this space where people are looking at us going, wow, that's really cool. Right. And so we're always striving to be better. We're always striving to be amazing. We're always striving to do all kinds of, whatever it is that we're trying to be able to accomplish. And we're always in this space where we want more and want more and want more. And we're driving that home. And it's just the way human nature is, right? It's the way we are as humans in general, where we're always trying to strive and to be better. We're trying to achieve the things that we're setting goals for to keep things moving forward. And he had said, we all live that life, and it's not a bad life to live. But what he said is that at the end of the day, when you're worried about certain things, let's say you're a social media influencer and you're on Instagram and you're making posts or podcasts and you're putting out a podcast looking to see what kind of follows and what kind of listens and whatever else you may have on there, or any other social media platform where you're looking for likes and follows and people to follow you and go along in your journey with you wherever you're going, right? And we get fixated on that. And we start worrying about that kind of stuff. Or we are trying to be able to just grind it out and be able to hit a certain threshold for retirement, or hit a certain threshold for, funds or money or bonuses or whatever else to be able to live the life we want to live. And we're always striving to be something more than what we are. And we grind. And we work and we focus and we dig in and we have ups and downs and valleys and peaks and all this stuff like that. And we're just grinding it. We're going through the cycle of life. Everybody does it. Everybody has it. So what his point is he said, you could spend all your time worrying about that kind of stuff, worrying about money, worrying about your job, worrying about occupation, worrying about status, worrying about likes and follows, worrying about all these things that at the end of the day really don't matter. He says, when you're on your deathbed and you're dying and you pass away and people are reflecting on your life, do you think they're going to remember he had 80,000 followers on TikTok? He had 2 million listens on his podcast. Do you think they'll remember the little things like that we're striving for and that we're always trying, like we get fixated on? Do you think somebody will remember, oh, you know what, he lost 100 pounds? Or whatever it is, right? You see I'm generalizing a lot of the things that I worry about. These are things that are on my mind. I think to myself, I don't want to gain all the weight back that I lost. I also don't want to, I want to continue to push forward with the podcast. I want to continue to be social. I want to continue to be an influencer. I want to continue to move forward, and who knows, one day make a career out of it or whatever it is. And I'm trying to strive to do so, but I get fixated on it and worried about it. And what his point is that when you're long gone and people are reflecting on who Shane Liquidshano was or who you are as a person, do you think they're going to talk about all the things that really don't matter in life? No, they're not. Because they're not. What he was saying is that you can live your life trying to be able to accomplish the materialistic things that you want, or the feelings of those endorphins that you may get from getting followers or likes, or the accolades that you might want, or awards that you may receive, or whatever else. And you can go your whole entire life trying to be able to strive for all of that, when at the end of the day, after you're long gone, you're not going to be remembered for those kind of things. You're going to be remembered for how you lived your life, and not what you lived within your life, not the contents of what was happening in your life. They're going to remember you for who you are as a person. They're going to remember you for how you lived your life, how you invested, how you gave back, how you did all these different things and made an impact in the world, society, friends, and family. Now, I was sitting there having this conversation with this guy, and I'm sitting there going, man, he's so right. I mean, he's absolutely 100% correct. I get concerned with all of these different things that we're trying to be able to accomplish and trying to be able to do in the status symbols of, living in a nice house, or doing the things that we have to do, or being financially set and whatever else, which are all super, super important things. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to belittle those things, and I'm not trying to say to go into $1 million worth of debt just because of whatever. What I'm saying to you is that sometimes those materialistic things that we talk about just really don't matter. They don't matter at the end of the day. They matter right now. They matter because they may feel good to have it right now, or it may feel good to be able to buy the things that you want to buy, or do the things you want to do, or maybe go visit the things you want to visit, or take the vacations you want to take, or whatever else. I get all that. And money does drive all that, and it is important to have to be able to enjoy that and be able to move forward, which I fully and completely understand. But at the end of the day, when I'm gone, is somebody going to say, hey, you know what? That guy had a good 401k. He was well set for his retirement. Hey, you know what? That guy had money. He could do whatever he wanted to do. He could walk into restaurants and leave huge tips and do whatever he was going to do. And he was amazing for that. Or that guy had a podcast and he had this many downloads, or this much volume that he had from it, or had sponsors from the podcast, or whatever it is. No, they're not going to talk about that. What they will talk about is, this is a man that gave back to the community. This is a man that raised money and serial tipped different servers and waitresses and bartenders and all these people in the food service industry because of the impact of what COVID looks like. Or this is a man that would journal or diary entry to help other people for free, not charging for podcasts, not charging for anything else, but for free, because he knows that it could help just one person. And if it helps one person, then it's done its job, right? This is a man that was a good father, that took care of his son and cared about him and loved on him, and was a influence on him, and made him think about life just a little bit differently as a teenager, to continue moving forward in this weird, crazy world that we're living in right now. They're going to remember me as a husband. He was a good husband. He was faithful. He took care of his wife. He doted on his wife. He loved his wife. They had such a good relationship. They communicated so well. They talked about everything. He worked hard at that. That was something we could see in the works every single day. He listened to his wife. He respected his wife. He respected his wife so that his son would see an example of what a good man would be. These are the kind of things that people will be talking about. Now, I'm not here to dote or brag or anything like that about who I am as a person, or the kind of person that I am. That's not the meaning of this. The meaning of this is to start to think differently about what you're doing with your life, rather than always trying to accomplish things or achieve things that are materialistic, or that don't matter, or that won't go with you when you die and you pass on. These are things that are surface level quick fix items that we're so concerned with and focused on that we get all wrapped up with it. We get enamored by whatever it is, whether it's popularity or whether it's money or whether it's fame or whatever it is. So when he was telling me this, I asked him, I said, okay, so I'm almost 50 and I feel like I'm in a good spot right now because I use social media for good things. I don't use social media as a political tool. I don't use social media as a religious fanaticism thing. I don't use any of the social media for those kind of things. I use social media for good. I use social media to possibly make someone laugh, to share some positive thoughts or some, not negative thoughts, but some thoughtful thoughts that make people think a little differently, not just in black and white, but layered out that thought to be able to move forward, right? And I feel like I'm in a pretty good place of the direction that I'm moving in. Have I hit my apex or the summit? No, I haven't yet. Because I'm still continuing to do things for others. I'm still continuing to give back. I'm still continuing to be a positive influence. I'm still continuing to do all the things that I have to do to be a good influence and a good example for my son and future generations, right? I want people to think of the legacy that I'm going to leave behind as something that mattered. It mattered. It made a difference. And the impact that I may have may be something that I made somebody feel really good. I made somebody smile during a really dark time, or I did something for somebody when they needed it most, and they remember me for that. Those are the kind of things that I want my legacy to be a part of. So I know I'm on the right path, but it still takes work. It takes energy. It takes time. We have to repattern ourselves. Think about this. We have to repattern ourselves to what the quote-unquote American dream is, right? We've been trained to sit back and try to achieve amazing things. Accolades, money, fame, whatever it is. Whatever it is, we've been trained to do that. Now, you're going to have to sit down and retrain your brain, right? Deprogram the way you've been trained all your life, the way you might have been taught by your family, your parents, your uncles, your aunts, your grandparents, whatever it is. However you were taught to be able to navigate life and continue moving forward, you might have to change things around to be able to get to a space where those things don't matter anymore. It's all about how you live your life and not what you have within your life. Let me repeat that one more time. It's not about what you have within the life that you're living. It's about how you live your life that you're living. What are you doing to create meaning in your life? What are you doing to fill your cup in life? What are you doing to invest in others in your life? What kind of example are you setting? Are you asking yourself, what does this look like to kids these days? What does this look like to a teenager that you might be raising? What does it look like, the actions that I take here? Is it a good example of a really good person, a good human being, somebody that you can look at and say, wow, they're amazing? And you guys can all think of some famous people that are out there that are known for the right things and then some that are known for the wrong things, right? People that are in religious sects like Mother Teresa, right? Always giving back. Princess Diana, always doing all these things, even though she was known for the royal family, but she was the outcast, but she gave back to the world. She did so much for other countries and other places. She gave back and she did what she had to do, right? There are certain people that like Martin Luther King or other individuals that you can look at and say, wow, they made an impact. They made a positive ripple in the world, right? You know those people. You can name them off. You probably have 10 or 11 of them that are in your mind right now that you can say they made a positive impact. That person did something for the world that mattered. And then on the other hand, you can look at the ones that, although they might have been famous and had lots of money and lots of fame and lots of whatever, but aren't really known for those kind of things. And when they're long gone, all that money goes to maybe family. Maybe it gets spent somewhere. Maybe they lose the money, whatever it is. But their image is still shallow. It's not as rich. It's not as deep. It's not as thick as what it needs to be and what it should be. So when he was sharing the story with me to say, live your life to the fullest, live it to the richest, tastiest, deepest area where you can live it, it made sense to me. Now, when somebody says live your life to the fullest, what do you think that means? Do you think that means just maximize your time? Do you think it means to have all the experiences that you can, right? Go out there and do some hang gliding, go out there and do some rock climbing, canoe, kayaking, whatever it is. Some people think of it that way, and that's okay. That's a really good way of living because you want to experience something, and we're only on this earth once, and we can live our life to the fullest and maximize our time and experience great, great things, right? All of us. Every single one of us can probably take that mantra. But I think of living life to the fullest as different. I think of it as something that's more of a challenge for me to make positive impacts every day, to set a goal that I'm actually going to greet someone or smile at someone or give a head nod to or compliment them on their clothes or their hair or whatever else, or do something kind for somebody. You know, handing the homeless person a meal or some money or some clothes, or going down the road and giving back to different charitable organizations, or doing things to be able to volunteer, working in a soup kitchen, or giving back to people. If now anything out of all the things that I'm trying to do, there's one thing that many of you that know me from the podcast and that have known me through social media is that I always tried to lead by example with my son. When my son was like 5-6 years old, we would go to volunteering events. We would go to clean up homeless shelters. We go to the Ronald McDonald House. We go repaint different stuff. We would go give back to elderly folks' homes. We would go build garden boxes for folks. We would do all these things together because I knew that it was a good example to set, but it made an impact. And if anybody that knows me knows I love volunteering and I love giving back because it feels amazing. It fills my heart. I feel this euphoric feeling, not from the feeling that you get from winning the lottery or money that you might get, but just this feeling of I made a positive impact on some people's lives today, and they smiled, and some of them even got teary-eyed, and they thanked me for it, which you don't need to do because I'm humble enough to know that I'm just a guy. But here's the thing. You have to retrain your brain. You have to think differently about the way that you're living your life if you really, truly want to live your best version of you. If you want to be somebody that makes a positive impact in the world, it's easy to do. Some people think it's difficult and where do I start and those kind of things. To be honest with you, just go with your heart. Go with your heart. Start to live your day setting a goal of doing one positive thing during the day. Just make it small goals. You don't have to change the world, even though you could change the world with your actions, especially in the society that we live in today, where everybody hates each other and everybody's fighting with each other. Nobody wants to, beat each other up in airlines and whatever else. You could make a positive impact, a huge positive impact, just for being a positive influence and a person that gives back to others and shows love and adoration and kindness, right? But you got to work at it. You have to set goals around it. If you want to live a life that you can live to the fullest versus something that you're trying to uphill climb, trying to be able to accomplish and achieve all these weird things and trying to be able to go for materialistic items, start to then incorporate daily goals of doing something positive. Now, what could that be? It could be many things. It could be anything from picking up the phone and calling your family. It could be anything from picking up the phone and calling a friend that you haven't talked to in a long time. It could be anything from stopping by somebody that you haven't seen in a while, maybe stopping by the grocery store, picking up an apple pie or a pumpkin pie and just dropping it off at the house. Say, hey, you know what? I was just thinking about you today, and I just want to let you know that I love you and I care for you, right? One gesture. That's all it takes. One little moment in time that you can change someone else's life, change someone else's view, change someone else's lens, and there begins your legacy. Because that person that you brought that pie to or made that phone call to or did those things that were kind, where you sent them flowers or you did something to be able to give back to them or help them or lift them up or encourage them, the impact that you have on that person, you just don't know what kind of impact that they may have. They might have had the worst day in the whole entire world. Maybe they were contemplating suicide. Maybe they were having the worst day in the world and they just felt like it all should come to an end. And I share that because that's happened to me 2 or 3 times where people have stated that my podcast brought them out of that situation, which is amazing and crazy to me. But I know that helps drive me to continue to move forward. Not about the downloads, not about the listens, but more about the impact that I'm having on people when they listen to me on a podcast, or the impact that I have with people when they may pop into my social media feed and see a positive message. If you scroll through my TikTok, which is a platform that can be used for dancing, lip syncing, doing whatever it is, you'll see one of 2 things that are on there. One of them is I'm going to try to make you laugh, right? Whether I'm lip syncing to something or just having some fun talking about coffee and whatever else and just making fun of whatever. Having fun and trying to make people laugh and smile, right? And the other thing is the other portion of that TikTok profile is all about positive reinforcement. It's all about thoughts and messages. I shared this story that I'm sharing with you with the guy that came into work today right after I got off of work. I hopped in my truck and I chatted with them. I said, listen, this is an impactful statement that this guy made to me today, and I want to share it with you. Now, there's not a lot of that on TikTok. There isn't. And I'm not the most, crazy social influencer that's out there. But I have a loyal following, and I have people that look to me for positive reinforcement, for positive lives, and be able to pop in and know that I'm just going to give them a little bit of love and some encouragement, and some adoration or something to be able to help them move forward. So to tie this all back together, let's think about that for a second, okay? Guy says to me, it's not about what you have, it's about how you live. And your legacy matters. Would you want people remembering you for the things that you don't want them remembering for? Being a shady person that would do anything at all costs to get whatever money, to be somebody that went through this corporate grind and kept on moving things forward and never really did anything outside of anything to be able to fulfill the dreams or aspirations that they may have. They just went through the thing and punched the clock, which isn't a bad thing. I get it. We all want to work hard and continue to move forward and pay the bills. I get all that. And I'm not saying to drop that. What I am saying is that even if you are a corporate grinder and you're working hard, the next statement should be from somebody, but he was such a good person. He was kind. He was gentle. He was nice. He treated me well. He listened to me. He treated me with respect. He made me feel like I was somebody. Those are the types of things that create legacy. Those are the types of things that people will look back on and say to you, hey, you know what? This guy was something special. This guy made us feel great. And we should remember him for who he was and who he is. And maybe even in the small inkling of the world, somebody out there will say, I want to live my life like him. I want to live my life giving back and being a positive influence like he did. That's the end-all dream right there. At the end of the day, if I can have somebody that wants to follow in my footsteps and continue to move forward and be a positive influence, and I can be a positive influence for them and continue to move forward and set an example and do the things that I have to do, then by all means, let's keep moving things forward. Let's do it, right? So I needed to share that with you today because it got me thinking. I already think I'm on the right path. But I don't think that I live my whole life around the fact that I need to worry about what kind of life that I'm living. What am I doing as a positive impact in my life all the time? That's really the space that I need to live in. Because outside of all the other stuff that happens, bills and money and all the drama that happens in the world, there's one thing that I can control. And that's how I respond and how I give back and how I encourage others to continue to move forward. That's all of us. Those are the things we have in our control. We control those things. We don't control stock markets. We don't control money. We don't control all that stuff. Even though we think we do, we don't. Other people do, other organizations do, other corporations do. So for me, I control what I can control, and that's my response, my listening, and my engagement that I have with people to know that I'm going to be there for them no matter what, and we're going to keep moving forward. So I'm going to live my life to the fullest, and I hope that you, as you're listening to this podcast, will think the same way. Hoping you that even if you're not losing the pounds you want to lose, or you're not gaining the money that you want to gain, or rising up the corporate ladder the speed that you want to, or doing the things that you want to do because you're not patient enough to be able to continue to move forward. Just remember, every day that you are living your life to the fullest and you're being a positive influence to the world and the people around you, you're making a difference. We are making a difference. Even if we think we're not, even if it doesn't feel like we are making a difference because we set a goal around it, and we have chosen to live a life that we are in control of how we respond to people and how we can invest in others and have a positive influence on those around us, right? So it'll make those bad days seem so much better when you're actually living in a space where you're doing positive things outside of all the negative drama that might be happening all around you, right? So at the end of the day, let's take that into consideration. Let's think about that, okay? Hopefully you can put something into consideration and something into motion, just like I'm going to do, and continue to move forward and set a goal around the positive things that we can do in this world to make it a better place. And we can change it together. We can. So have a great day, everybody. Have a great weekend this weekend, and we'll talk soon, okay? See ya.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast. Please do us a favor and leave feedback and a 5-star rating on whatever platform that you use.